Welcome to a Spotlight on the Work series. Today we're talking to Niamh. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very happy to be here.
First question, can you tell us who you are and what you do?
So yes, my name's Niamh. I'm 45 and I work in a theatre doing admin.
And you're 45 today. Happy
I'm 45
birthday.
today. Thank you.
So in your role admin at theatre, what does a typical day look like for you?
So it can be anything really. It's because it's a theatre, it's quite varied. So if we could be preparing for a show, and so that would mean for me to type up scripts and get ready for the actors and the creative crew. And occasionally do contracts for the actors as well and book travel and accommodation if they need it. Just general day-to-day office running, like making sure the photocopier works, keeping everyone topped up with biscuits and ordering stationery. And it's quite good fun, actually.
And what's it like working with actors?
Um, it's interesting. It's not as glamorous as people think it's going to be. Most of them are really, really lovely. Occasionally, there's people who are less lovely and sort of demanding and challenging. But thankfully, that doesn't happen too often. It's great. It's really nice to sort of be involved in a collaborative process so that everybody in my work is a cog in a machine. And no matter how small or how big that particular cog is, the whole thing can't function without that person. So there's a lot of respect for people like me at the lower end of the salary scale, and so people in box office and front of house. So it's really nice. It's really collaborative effort.
That's good. It's good that there's like a team spirit there and it's respectful. That's really good. It's important.
Mm.
And how have you navigated HIV at work?
So initially it was quite hard, because at the point of diagnosis, it's a scary time because it's a whole new world and it's one that I had very limited information on. So initially it was scary. And there's also, well, what do? Do you have to tell work? And obviously you don't. I am quite an open book. So I kind of felt that I had to tell people. Um, just because I didn't handle diagnosis particularly well and needed some time off. And then thought, well, I'm going to be going to appointments and then the medication and what the side effects of the medication and all this stuff goes on because you just got like a million questions about the diagnosis that you just don't know what to do. And one of the best advice I was given at the time was be careful who you tell because you can't untell someone. And so that was a big part of it as well. Like going, right, well, I have to at some point fess up, I guess. So I waited until the point of medication. Um, and then in those days, and it was only 10 years ago, but in those days, you didn't get medication right away. You had to wait until your CD4 count, obviously, I have to always get this wrong, CD4 count drops, viral load goes up. So I had to wait until my CD4 count had dropped, and which was about 2.5, 3 years before we're actually getting medication. And then once I started that, I did have a few side effects, nothing major, but enough to sort of not be able to go to work for a couple of days. I just told my boss, and actually, when I told her, she said, "My partner's cousin is positive, so I understand, and I'm here if you need it." So it was turned out to be brilliant, actually.
Oh, that's fantastic that her response was so good.
Yeah,
Have you told anybody else at work?
yeah. I kind of had. I've been working with another theatre, a youth theatre, and they were involved with my HIV clinic to make videos for the NHS. So positive people had told their stories and negative reactions in the NHS, and they kind of made almost like a training manual, if you like. So it's a series of videos recreating scenarios with young actors. And I've been involved in that as a positive person, given my insight. And then it was being launched, online. And I used to work for the theatre for young people. I thought, well, I'm being really secretive here because I took part in this project. I really believe in it and it's brilliant. So I'm just going to have to tell people. So I just put it on Facebook and the response was great. It was really, really fab. Yeah, people at work have been great. And most people don't know that much about it. And so it's been great to kind of go, well, this is the reality of it. These are the actual facts maybe you've not known about because it's not been spoken about for so long. So I like to think it's breaking down stigma a little bit each time.
Like a real opportunity to educate people when you're so open, and it's really interesting, like the slight difference between when you first told and then the next time you chose to tell, and how that opened up kind of being far more open. The first manager that you told, did they keep it
They did,
confidential?
yeah. This like I hadn't even thought of that, to be honest, at the time, because I didn't want to be off work. Excuse me. And she brought it up. She said, obviously, this is confidential information, so it goes no further. Which was fantastic. And I genuinely hadn't even thought of that at the time. It was just like, I don't want to get in trouble for being off work. And she was like, no, I understand. And yeah, it was completely confidential. And it was like that for about 6 months before then I told everybody on Facebook. So yeah, there was a good 6 months where it was just her and I that knew. And as I said, she was really supportive and still is.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing that it was even her that took the initiative to say that this is going to be confidential.
Because like you don't, like I was saying, obviously at that point I've been diagnosed for 3 years, but sort of thought of medication and the unknowns around that because it was all kind of new. I was kind of focused on that rather than confidentiality at work. And so yeah, it was fantastic that she realised that. I probably should have researched it a bit more myself, but I didn't. I'm not very good at that.
It's a lot to take in, I think, with the deciding who to share, coming to terms with our HIV status. So it's just great that, and I think if more HIV negative people also thought that way as well, it would give us kind of less of a job, less work to do. So yeah, I think it's amazing. It'll bring a lot of comfort to people listening that was your first reaction in the workspace.
Yeah, no, I said she was really supportive and like would check, not all the time, but occasionally she would check in. Like if I had to go for a hospital appointment, realise that week 1 is going for the blood tests, and then 2 weeks later I was going to get the results. So at week 2, when I would sort of have to take an hour off work to pop up to the hospital, when I came back, she would be like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah." So it was really sweet that she. I think most people. I think my experience seems to be that most people do get it. Like once they may not be up to date with their knowledge, but they understand the sort of respectfulness around it and the need to keep things confidential, especially in a work setting. Then once they do understand that, really it's not that bad, and I'm not going to need time off work really, because medication works, medication's grand. Like initially there was a few days of a wobble when I first started the medication, that happened to everybody, and I think being able to sort of educate people about that along the way helps. And like I said, she has now left my work and has gone somewhere else, so she obviously has taken that knowledge with her. So she came into that situation again, she'll know how to handle it. And I think that's quite good, because it's not for everybody. I understand that it's not for everybody, but I've been dead lucky. I trusted her. I knew her as a friend, and the company I work for, we're quite inclusive generally and reliant on each other. I know every office and every business is reliant on somebody. Theatre, we're particularly lucky because we get to see our end product within less than 2 months, and we get to see the actual reaction from the audience. So there's high job satisfaction in that. So we're all kind of on the same page. A lot of one person is down or not functioning well in whatever way, there'll be somebody else to pick them up and help them.
That's amazing. Thank you. And the last question that I have for you is, what advice would you give to people who also want that high job satisfaction and want to work in the arts or theatre more specifically?
Well, we have a thing in Scotland around exam time every year, and it comes from the government actually. It's called No Wrong Path. So when you get your exam results and they're maybe not as great as you thought they would be, or you haven't got enough to do whatever course you want to do, that we say there is no wrong path. You can do anything. The world really is your oyster. And for example, I trained to be a teacher, and I'm not a teacher for various reasons. And I didn't ever think I'd end up working in the theatre. But it's great. And my advice would be, if you wanted to get into the arts, especially as a young person, is find a local group that you can go to. Like, for example, my theatre does classes for young people and different courses for young people as well. So I would get into that and go and see stuff. Don't be afraid to go and see stuff. People kind of have this weird attitude with theatre that they think, you have to get dressed up and behave properly. It's all very serious. And then no one cares. Like, go and rip jeans and a rip t-shirt. No one cares. Just go and see stuff and get involved in it, because it really is brilliant. And you will meet a great range of different people and shows and different experiences. And my advice would be, don't be afraid about anything. You can do whatever you want to do in life, and no one should hold you back. So I think that would be my advice. Don't be afraid.
That's a good note to end on. Thank you so much for your time, Niamh.
Oh, you're very welcome. Good luck, everybody, and whatever you do in the future.